Hi, Kathy. How are you?
I'm good, Janice. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. I'm so happy you're here today with me to talk about your math story. Um, Thanks so much for joining me.
Well,
So,
thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
so I'm Janice Marks. I'm the creator of Page a Day Math. And when I was teaching, I spoke with many parents and children, and I learned that everybody has a math story and they're all different and they're all really interesting. So I decided to do this series to talk to different people about their math stories and let something that other parents could listen to and really to help them out. So when they are working with their children at home, they can help them really really help them flourish and really give them positive feedback. So go ahead. I'm going to leave it to you. Go ahead and share your math story with us.
Well, my math story basically is that I hated math and I was terrible at it my whole life. But as I think about it now, it was more of a mental block than anything.
Mhm,
And I need to emphasize that, I'm older and I started school when I was 4 years old, and it was 1951.
mhm,
And things were very different back then. Um, Not that we still don't have room to grow in this area, but girls were not expected to do well in school, especially math and science, and we were not encouraged to go that direction at all. And I was pretty bad at it, and not only was it in the education system, it was like that, but at home, I had a typical family from the 50s, and they never expected me to do well in school. I grew up in a family with three brothers, and they were expected to do well, and my oldest brother was a math genius.
mhm.
And I just sort of slugged along and tried to do the best I could, but I really hated it. um, and when I got to the ninth grade, I got into I was able to at least slog through in grade school,
Mhm,
but then I switched and I took freshman algebra one, and I either flunked it or got a low D in it or
mhm,
something. And there was a summer between then and when I was going to take algebra two, and so I chose to take algebra one all over again in the summertime because I knew I'd never get through algebra two.
mhm,
And my brother, the math genius brother, was at college by then, but he was home for the summer and he kind of tutored me. And
mhm.
I got an A that summer in algebra. And I remember my father saying, well, if he could get an A the second time, he could have done better the first time, which is probably true. But it was that extra help that
Yeah.
really helped me a lot. But I didn't do well in any of the math classes in high school, and I just avoided math whenever I could. And then I ended, and when this is the way it was too. I wanted to go to college, and it was never expected I would go to college. My brothers, it was all very carefully planned. They all went to special private high schools. I went to a local public school.
Mhm.
I wanted to go to college, and my father said, "What's the point of that? You're just going to get married." And yes, they really said things like that
Oh, and
back
I
then.
and I really want to interject here that you're a lawyer, a social worker, and a musician, just so
Yes,
the
yes, I
audience
ended
knows
up
that.
going to school a lot and doing a lot of things. But at the time, but I kept bugging my dad, and he finally said, "You can go to college, but you can be a teacher or a nurse. Those are the only two
Mhm.
things you can go into because that's something for you to fall back on." you know.
Wow.
And I didn't want to do either one, but I did end up going to. I really liked the humanities, but I
Mhm.
ended up getting a teaching degree to make him happy. But I majored in sociology. And then later on, I ended up getting a master's degree in social work. And then I went to law school. Um, but I made sure I never had to take a math class through all of college, graduate
Okay.
school, or law school. I avoided it like the plague. But I ended up, doing well in my profession. I ended up as a lawyer in a public service agency. I was a civil rights lawyer for people
Mhm.
with disabilities, and I was the legal director of this statewide agency. So I did well in what I did when
Yeah,
I was encouraged. But I really think it was, kind of a product of the times and the education system and the encouragement that I got.
absolutely. I mean, it sounds like, I mean, I think it just shows, that summer that your brother came home and helped you just probably not that much, but helped you a little bit. It gave you such a boost, and it
Oh,
maybe it
yeah,
was
it
just
did.
everything that you needed. And but if you had gotten that a little bit earlier and the encouragement earlier, maybe that wouldn't have been such a taboo topic for you.
Yeah, when I was in grade school, I remember just one time, I think it was the fifth grade, and my teacher was Mrs. Martin, and she was a very stern teacher, not mean, but very stern. And I was scared of her. But one time I got up the courage to ask her for help, and she helped me out with this problem, and she was very nice about it. And the way she explained it, it seemed so easy. I said, "Oh, is that all it is?" She said, "Yeah." But I never got up my courage to ask again. And again, the education system at the time, I was in a Catholic school, and for 8 years, the lowest number of kids in my class was 53, and it went up to 63 in my sixth grade class. There wasn't time for teachers to give individual attention. Both of my parents worked, so there wasn't any individual attention, but I think that would have made all the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It sounds like it. I mean, it just, one teacher can make such a big difference.
Yeah, and it seemed to indicate there are other things that indicated that there's no reason I couldn't have done better. I remember when I was job seeking, I took some tests one time. They gave you a test on everything, math and English and all of that. And I remember this lady saying, "Oh, wow, you're really good at math." And I was like,
Yeah.
"What?" This is how could, but apparently, I did well on the test. There's no reason I couldn't have done better, but I wasn't expected to.
Right.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah. I mean, without that encouragement, I think that encouragement is
Mhm.
key. So, well, that's so interesting. So what are you, how is math, do you use math at all with you're a musician. Do you see math involved with that at all?
Um, no, if I was more of a musician, if I knew anything about music theory, which I wish I did,
Mhm.
probably I would use it more. I don't really use it now.
Mhm.
Um, Really, the only, the only areas that I come across it now is I still serve on people's boards. They always like lawyers on a board,
Mhm.
and they assume that I know things that I have no idea about when I'm on their
So
boards.
you're being
But
modest.
yeah, but I keep telling them I don't know. But you're always expected to deal with the finances of the organization, whatever it is, and they always pass out all of these papers, and I always sit there. I have no idea what these papers are. It's just like a blur to me. But fortunately, I never get on the finance committee, so I let people who really know what they're about take
Somebody else
care of
do.
it, and I just nod and I vote for whatever they vote for. But I don't really have to deal with math very much. I still have a block about it. It's
Yeah.
still, when I see numbers, I just, I don't want to deal with that.
So I have two last questions for you. One is if you could finish the sentence "math is," and then also if you could give advice to a parent, like one piece of advice to a young parent with a young child regarding their education or the supported home, what would you tell them?
Well, let me see. Math is intimidating for many of us,
Hmm.
um, whether it should be or not. It's intimidating.
Yeah.
And the advice I would give to parents based on my own experiences, have expectations that your kids can learn it and get them what they need. I'm familiar with your program. I wish so much that I had had something like that. I cannot tell you how much, but it's, you know, parents should encourage their children to do well. They should expect them to do well. And if they need help, boy, today there's so many ways that you can get help.
Sure.
That, just take advantage of everything,
Yeah.
especially in those young ages, because that's where it makes so much difference. I got a bad attitude right from the beginning, and
Yeah.
it has lasted my whole life. I'm
Yeah.
trying to improve it, but
Yeah. I know. I saw like with these fifth graders that I taught and their parents, most of those feelings were instilled at a really early age.
hmm
Which
yeah.
which is the reason why I created this math series, just to get people off to like a really great mindset right from the get-go. So
I know that when I was told that I could do things well, I did things well. And
yeah,
when I was told that it doesn't matter, don't worry about it, you're not good at that, then that's what I
sure,
did.
sure. And then that continues. So well,
hmm
thank you, Kathy. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is a great. I had a great time with you, listening to your stories, and it was a great interview. And I just wish you the best.
Thank you, and thank you for developing your math program, which I think will be very helpful.
Thanks so much. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.